Corky into it.
Yeah, because Corky has not looked. Okay, there we go. We have evolved to the Insta Slam Blue first side Talia, and I 100% agree with it.
That's crazy. I actually thought we'd see a mix up in the bans. It's the exact same all three games so far to get rid of Senna Tam Kench, because even with the Talia gone, I still think the amount of healing that was coming through for the Zac, for the Xin Zhao, and the protection that Keria offered was actually the real problem for BLG, so I'm surprised to see the Talia first pick.
And now you can just pick up your Kalista in the Aftermath if you still want to go that way.
Yeah.
Because you know T1 are going to go for this Senna Tahm Kench every time, right? The priority's there, so switching your priority and grabbing your Talia first is already paying dividends here for BLG, but do they want to change it further? Some discussion going on.
Caden looks.
Okay.
Dang it.
The little tantalizing dangle there of the Caitlyn, but not going to come through. Elk, Lucian is actually his highest win percentage of his top like 7-8% champions played, I want to say. Massive Lucian player here, so very, very excited to see this one. And this already top 3 lock-in for BLG is going to be a crazy powerful mid game. They have the ability to swap their Lucian Nami towards mid and then put Talia in sides. It's already setting up to look scary.
Surprised by the TF lock-in though. Immediately you'd imagine towards Zeus has been one of his incredibly strong picks, but you can still go for some counters in that top side that can work out relatively well, or even opt in towards the lane swap, which you've seen a huge amount. So T1 kind of showing their hand a little bit early here.
Perhaps, but Kobe. I seem to remember that there's a certain champion from the Void that Rift walks around and does okay when you try to put rocks on the ground to stop dashes. Is this a 1-3-1 opportunity now for T1 if there is a lurking Kassadin? That's what I want.
I was exactly looking at like the wars of globals, you know, trying to retain control because you don't want to get split push apart. And so Twisted Fate ultimate is going to go a long way in that arms race of globals. You already have the Senna ultimate, of course, as well. So I kind of like that angle. Plus, you know, as you were mentioning, like Zeus was such a fan this season of the range tops, the Twisted Fate, the Vayne. That is his wheelhouse here. So are you worried about the Yasuo counterpick, Dagda? Because, you know, the Yasuo counterpick, like the lane counter, has been talked up a lot, but then you have to integrate that into your rest of your team.
Well, I was going to say, I think you've already got the wave for a potential Yasuo, which already gives you a knock-up. You got a flick back from a Talia. You have a lot of options there.
You do like it.
But I also just like Bin's Jax, which has been pretty good into the TFs as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Bin go back towards that if he really wants to here and just say, hey, I'm going to fight you in the early stages. He has been an incredible Jax player for so many years. It has been banned against him, in particular in the LPL. This could be the angle for him to bring it out.
Could be an opportunity. The Aurelion Soul ban is an odd one for me. We did see Faker debut that one for his very first time earlier on, and it didn't quite work out. But there is the Jax that you were talking about, Dagda, being hovered now at least. Of course, a flex pick as well. We'll see whether it is going to go to Shun or to Bin, as it is going to be locked in.
In the current League of Legends, probably the most legendary Jax player that we have. Bin definitely a master of the champion, so let's see. Zeus Twisted Fate versus Bin Jax.
Yeah, Bin's Jax, he's pretty good at this champion. He's played at what, 76 games, second most played?
Over 70% win rate on the champion as well.
That's a tree. Okay, so the jungler for Shun is going to be that Maokai. A fair bit of dive potential. Maokais have been paired with these Lucians quite a lot, just in general. That's going to finish up the team composition. And now, Faker. Okay, it is a purple champion. I'm okay with that. Thinking about a Viger, and he will lock that one in. That's going to be the answer to the Talia this time around.
I actually like it. You get the ability to just safely farm up in the lane phase. You are going to get pushed in, but realistically, when you look at what BLG want to operate with, it's a very short-range composition that wants to jump in on top of you, and that's where Veigar thrives. He can put down the cage, control the space against BLG, and when you've got the long range on the TF as well, when you get to these objective fights, you can basically pick and choose your targets while keeping BLG at arm's length and not giving them any sort of in to the fight.
Fellas, I think we might be getting a BLG favored game this time around. At least for me. I think it is bold to pick 2 stacking champions versus BLG. This team, I feel like they're not going to let you stack at all. Even from the get-go, Elkin on, the Lucian Nami pickups here for them, kind of iconic. Then Bin's Jax, very iconic. And they were able to slam the first pick to Leah. I personally am really liking the BLG look, but T1, see how hard they can cook here with Faker's Veigar.
I think a huge amount of this game relies on Oner. You need to be able to control the early stages, because if you end up with a very heavy dive onto the bottom side, playing around this Lucian Nami, getting into a mid game where towers are falling quickly, it feels inevitable that BLG will be able to play it through that 1-3-1. But if you can slow down the pace of the game, if you can try and keep BLG off your structures, that's where T1 can find their moments at these objective fights and use at least the zone control they have for their better.
Well, we know that Oner's Lee Sin is definitely his most iconic champion. So if there's ever a time where Oner has the pressure and he can rise to it, it would be when he's equipped with the Blind Monk. We'll see how it's going to go as we dive onto the Rift. It is the beginning of a best of 3. Game number 3 between BLG and T1. And already the lane swap is in effect by T1. Gumayusi lurking towards that top side, but Keria is still down here on the bottom side of the map. So it looks like maybe we are just going to see Gumayusi heading back home. I was thinking about whether or not there were going to be any extra wards up there or something like that, getting the information that they can find.
Meanwhile, some movement from Elk as well, heading up towards the top side. No information gained yet, except for a couple of brief moments here with the mid laners.
I do like the early ward from T1 though. Gumayusi put it down just before he reset. A lot of the way that you'll see this matchup play out in the top side is the Bin trying to sneak into the second brush, so then he can always have access to the front minions. But with having that ward down, Zeus can trade heavily into that second bush and try and push Bin back, so it makes it very hard for him to farm. But the invade and the lane swap, so it may not work out with Zeus in the 1v1.
Yeah, so BLG, they're checking here for opposite quadrant. Meanwhile, they have Shun kind of doing that steal away from their weak side of the map where they have lane swapped away from. So they're setting themselves up for, again, some jungle camp coverage here on the side of BLG. Meanwhile, Bin has been sussed out as he tries to soak a little bit of experience.
Yep, the Counter-Strike going to be utilized just to try and mitigate some of the damage. It's not quite going to work out here as Zeus going to walk over, oh, not actually walking over the ward as he moves back down towards the mid lane. Obviously, Knight knows exactly what's going on here, and it is just going to be that 2-man in the mid lane, as we've seen many times. Bin just counter-striking around, but still difficult to get into range of some of the experience here.
All right, and they're going to have Shun even take away the full red quadrant of the jungle here. Now the interesting part will be about the crossover to T1's red quadrant. Because again, this is where Elk and On are power play on the top side. So On is going to go try and help out and secure the extra jungle camps. But Oner's already made his way down here for the dive. And just continue to press on Bin.
Yeah, Bin just going to back away. Intelligently here, I think understands that 1 versus 4, even under a turret, probably not going to work out. They're looking for their first couple of plates.
Clean sweep here on the jungle quadrants for BLG. If Bin, wait, he's sneaking back in?
Yep, not sure about that one, as he's taking a fair bit of damage. Q does connect there from Oner, but so does the snare from this center. Looks like Bin under an inner turret should be fine.
He saw Keria TP to the top side, so thought he might have been able to sneak back into the lane, but Oner sticks around to make sure that there's no way Bin can get this experience. So it will be Zeus at least been able to farm up some of the CS on the bot side. Here comes the TP and the repeat dive.
Yeah, straight back down there once again. A good snare lands from Gumayusi here as Zeus tanking the first turret shot. We're going to try and soften him up. Of course, it is dangerous to try and dive at Jax just in general, but 4 versus 1 here on the top side of the map as well. Looks like BLG might be able to get onto the board as Keria wants to eat that grey health. He does so, and Shun not going to be able to reset. That is Keria locking that one down. A 1-for-1 on the top side, and in the meantime, Zeus just barely surviving, and they clean up the dive bot.
Just about able to get Bin before Zeus goes down. Did pick up a lot of that farm though, and it will be the TP from Knight onto the bottom side to make sure that he can keep himself safe while Bin is going to go up towards the top end of the map. But Nice dive on both sides, each picking up their wins.
Yeah, Keria's thick enough on the top side that they actually get the one counter kill on Shun going down, but I like the execution on the bottom side one. All right, we're gonna take a look at the top side one instead. As Keria uses flash to get to the other side, then the thick skin, he got it off in time. Oh, it reacquired after the W. Yeah. He wasn't able to get
was there a sapling tick or something
like that?
I think
it's the red buff.
He had red buff, so between the time of the target acquiring on the tower there, his W unable to drop it as it ticked another bit of damage and reacquired tower shot.
So it could have been that both of the dives were going to work out. Meanwhile, Zeus here towards his bottom side, in position. Unseen now as Knight is just going to push this wave in very comfortably, make sure that there is as much pressure put down as possible.
If you're unsure about things like that and the timings on reacquiring, then you can always wait. As long as you know you have something right there to W, just wait and make sure till you see it actually in the air. But I did like the bottom side one. What they did there for T1, Zeus just threw out his gold card without anybody else acquiring aggro on Bin. Nobody else threw any damage. And so the Counter-Strike was used with no tower shots taken. And so they were able to get that one. But here we go for the next round. Shun is now looking at Guma.
Yeah, there are 4 members of BLG moving down here. There's the flash, twisted advance, gets very deep underneath the turret, but the seismic shove is fantastic. And this time, Shun doesn't need a twisted advance to survive the dive. In goes Oner once again, does a fair bit of damage tonight. But it looks like they will be able to get away from this one scot-free. Faker making the roam down. Let's see whether the Faker can get his cage into position. T1 wanting to keep them interested. There's a flash out from On. And it should mean that T1 aren't able to get too much back, as Shun taking a lot of damage, still down to 100 though, keeps himself alive, as now Faker throws out the LTL, just barely surviving! And the Dark Matter not going to connect onto On either.
I cannot believe that BLG managed to survive against that. Faker on the roam. I thought the baby cage was going to be enough to zone them away from the tower and keep T1 in a position to get the kills, but just not quite. It will net the Dragon for T1 though. As you look at the top side, Bin getting a nice little bit of farm and experience lead over Zeus.
Meanwhile, they're looking for a repeat here. Faker sticking around.
Yeah, On in a bit of trouble here as Faker does move on down towards that bottom side, and that is going to be a kill going over to Gumayusi. Just a little bit greedy for the experience.
Yeah, nicely done there. Keria's like, don't worry, Faker, I can tank the tower. So On, even though he throws the bubble towards Faker, Keria is able to tank it up. T1 get another dive kill.
It's been really weird lane assignments from BLG though. Then usually you'd think, oh, Elka and On want to play together, so they have the Lucian Nami as a duo, but they've actually been using the Nami a lot with the Talia, with Elk actually free farming the mid lane to get a little bit more of an experience lead for himself to match Keria, getting some of that solo XP on the top side. And now you can see as well, Nami starting to move up towards that top side, but she was stuck in the bot lane when it looked like they were already planning to move Bin into the bottom side. So On been a little bit late on some of these rotations as a result, and T1 have been punishing well with it.
Well, Zeus should be able to move down with his Destiny Gate towards that bottom side of the map, as that wave is going to be pushed in by Bin. And Keria, Gumayusi going to catch this wave as 2v2 will finally come on in, even though it's a little bit upside down. It's still going to happen as Keria, did he get culled? Not sure. Didn't really take very much damage there, as it's a nice little cage, as Knight putting his Merc Treads to good use.
All right, keeping track so far, Faker on 70 stacks and Guma on his first 20 right there. Grabbing that first little break point. Meanwhile, Shun again, ultimate towards Faker.
Yeah,
Faker who does have flash.
Yeah, should be able to get himself pretty far away. Seismic Shove going to connect though, puts down the cage, but it doesn't really do anything. Dark Matter flies down and Faker is just dead. No flash going to even be invested. Just knew that he had nowhere to go.
I thought he might have been able to just flash past the range of the Maokai ultimate. Maybe I was wrong there, but still, nice pickup for BLG, getting 2 kills now for Knight, and in the 1-3-1 with this Talia already getting rolling, it's looking good for BLG.
I guess maybe wanting to hold on to the flash for a fight that could be incoming, but not a lot to fight for right now. As Gumayusi, that is a lot of damage that he's taking here.
Yeah, I'm going to trust that Faker knows best.
Yeah, I think if there's anyone that you're just going to give benefit of the doubt,
we can't quite see the plan, but it's there. Surely.
We'll see what it is actually going to be, because he decided not to press the flash button. and did then die. He's 10 CS up though, and of course you just want to be farming, pressing Q as many times as possible, onto things, getting last hits, and building up that AP as high as you possibly can.
It is interesting to see, though, how much resources BLG have been giving towards Elk in this. One of the things that we see an awful lot of the times is when you've got a Senna Tam Kench and we end up in a lane swap, Keria is on the Tam Kench gets further ahead because of the TP, but they've let Elk farm in mid, but Knight now under pressure in the mid lane with Oner here.
Yeah, Cage comes down. Seismic Shove going to be avoided. Oner being very patient here. That Cage not going to be opted into. Keria just farming here towards the top side of the map. So slinking into Fog of War at T1. Looks like they might just steal away a blue buff. That could be all they're going to be able to get. Still a minute and a half before anything else is going to be back up on the map for the taking.
And we keep up the swaps here. Now we got another reset T1. They send Bin, or BLG, excuse me, send Bin up to that top side. He's gonna have to get past some of these deeper wards from T1 though. They'll see him as he goes.
Yep, that's a nice one.
They even look to set up for the dive. You can see now that he's been spotted, the ping's already there, though. Keria going to go for the reset, and you're seeing the reset from Zeus as well. So T1 trying to force these matching lanes at this stage, so that then you can have Zeus continue to put pressure on against Bin. But he's been doing relatively well. You can see CS is the same, and experience relatively even as well for both of these top laners.
Just pretty quiet as far as this early game is concerned. Only about 500 in it. Slightly favoring BLG right now, but no turrets really under too much threat, as we do have some waves moving in, so BLG might be able to get first brick, but you can see only a couple of plates being taken here towards the top side. It's the bottom side of the map that is looking a little bit more worse for wear on the T1 side of the rift.
Yeah, BLG able to get that push in. Bin gets a turret plate, bottom side gets their push as well. Meanwhile, Shun in the jungle, just a little friendly jungle banter.
Yep, throwing some emotes around, things like that. Looks like the Gromp should be secured here by Oner. And BLG, 4-man strong here, moving towards the bottom lane. Knight has that rotational power. And Faker, he's moving the other direction, thinking about maybe trying to find Bin here. And Keria very difficult to dive at this point in time. Just feels like a bit too durable, perhaps. And BLG not going to go for it at this point in time. So stymied once again, as this attempted aggression is not really getting too much.
Still getting good damage on Keria, though. That's the culling, and you've got Knight on the way.
Yeah, taken down to below 50% here, as he's just going to flash preemptively. Doesn't want Shun to be able to flash Twisted Advance, and it looks to be the turret to go down as well. So in the end, BLG will get what they came for.
Turret and Dragon more than likely going to be taken for them. You will get the Void Grove trade, but watch Bin. Will he stick around under tower? Will T1 look for the dive? Because there's the teleport.
Yeah, that's a very deep one. That's that ward that we were looking at before, as Keria is going to make his way in. Bin already down to about 50%, and he does have the counter-strike up and available. That means not going to be able to find too much, especially with Knight teleporting in. Beautifully played here by BLG to just get what they can from the rift. Oner going to be able to secure himself a few of these Void Grubs, but that is only going to even out those that take.
Yep, exactly. Splitting Dragons, splitting Void Grubs here, splitting tower plates as well. And BLG will retain that very small gold lead. Knight, of course, quite happy with those kills on the Talia. Roaming around right now, looking to maybe use his ultimates?
Yeah, looking for Gumayusi here, as the Weaver's Wall is going to run out. He's taking a lot of damage as Gumayusi, but still able to land that snare, not having to use his flash, but did have to heal.
A lot of members of BLG around the mid lane, though, so how much do BLG want to push up? Looks like they're just going to be happy to get a little bit of chunk damage and move their vision into this bottom side. Zeus, no tower and no vision in behind him. BLG might have found him.
Yeah, I think Zeus could be in a little bit of trouble here. Might need to use the Destiny to try and get out, and is going to be able to do so. Goodbye. And he just gets underneath his inner turret. But that is a big cooldown, now unavailable for the next couple of fights.
And as we get towards the mid game here, with some of these towers going down, again, BLG and the ability to play the map, looking for these picks, looking to get that side lane pressure. Not having a Twisted Fate ultimate available now for T1. Like that is one of their biggest answers that they have in this series. And so BLG going to be very happy for the next few minutes.
This is such a different style from BLG when you think of them in playoffs, though. They were such a skirmish-heavy team, and it's been much more about map plays and moving around. And yes, there's been some picks and some dives, but this is not exactly what you would have counted as the BLG play when you came in towards MSI. So very different look from a team that was criticized for their side lane play coming into MSI.
Looks like Zeus will be able to grab this turret. Plate's just falling down, so won't be able to get the last one. Still going to be able to answer that first turret that was taken on the bottom side by BLG. They'll answer, though, with a Rift Herald of their own. And now, Oner looking to go aggressive, does dive towards Elk, but thinks against it, as now that is a better target for the Cullen. Gumayusi taking a fair bit, still able to outrange it. Nature's Grasp going to be used here by Shun. Let's see who we can get for it as Gumayusi very far off to the side, and that is going to be Oner going down. Elk dives forward, picks up the kill for himself, but he's now out of the fight, gone very, very low with the amount of turret shots he took.
Oh, these Maokai ultimates from Shun in mid lane. Kill after kill, they take down Oner, they immediately pop this Rift Herald, and they're gonna hard force. That's at least outer tower down. They can get the second, can they get the second charge off? Someone, okay, we're gonna drive it out of here.
Save Shelly! Operation get her out of here! But I'm going to send her into a wall. Either way, I love the way BLG are playing against the composition T1 have. You see the Twisted Fate, who can be such a nuisance when you're trying to make Rift Tower plays or play for mid tower because of that Destiny. So BLG targets Zeus first, get the Destiny out of the way on the dive, and then look for the plays afterwards. And Knight, great position here, knows that Oner's going to get stuck. So gets the flick back and sets up for the kill. And Keria trying to get in position for the gobble, but on with the tidal wave, able to keep the catfish at bay.
Really beautifully done by BLG, and it looked just unanswerable, especially for Oner, who as soon as he did get snared, he was just doomed. This tower going to go down, though, as Faker secures that one. Gets solo gold for that as well. So can now augment his build already. That Archangels has been built up, and it's heading towards, you know, he's sitting on like 162 stacks or something like that as the Seraphs is going to complete.
All right, it's time for Elk Gaming right now, though. The Lucian 2-item power spike, and his Nami has long since completed the Imperial Mandate. So now we get to see the famed, the scary stage of the game, this mid-game where the Lucian Nami just position themselves towards mid, and even with no mid tower here for T1, makes it so hard for them to ever get mid lane minion control, which should mean BLG setting up for consecutive objectives down there. The Dragon will arrive in 35 seconds or so. Plenty of time for them to move some resources.
They just need to make sure they're getting their vision down. Nothing really on that bottom side of the map where the Dragon is going to be spawning. So there's a potential for T1 if they wanted to look for picks. You see Oner farming his own jungle. Could have maybe come in behind, but BLG just happy to shove mid and play for the tower instead, because at the end of the day, the 1-3-1 is what BLG are looking for.
Yeah, how do you ever control mid lane here? BLG, Elkin on, they push it, they roam up to that top side tower.
Yep, tidal wave going to come down. The baby cage is there to try and protect his Gumayusi. The piercing darkness is decent, but he gets caught. Oh, Faker, no, does have the Seraphs, and that is going to keep him alive for the moment.
Look at that value play, though. BLG, they force on the top tower. They get 2 flashes. Faker's flash, Gumayusi's flash. They get the objective, and Bin free pushing on bottom side. He's watching over Dragon right now. Nobody has tried to rush it quite yet. T1 on their reset are looking to retake a little bit of the vision leading up to it, though.
Yep, Oner, you can see, does manage to land a Q onto Shun, but feels like this Maokai just straight up does not care about anything this Lee Sin is doing this game. Teleport to come forward. That's going to get Keria back into the fight. Bin moving on in. Blue buff going to be secured there, I believe, by Oner. And yes, that is going to be the lockdown for the jungler. As Elk, having to be a little bit careful here. Cage goes down. That is a big cooldown T1 won't have for the next little while. They need to get control of mid lane, and this is the problem. This Lucian is just so good, making sure that T1 never have that mid control. But now, Elk gonna get snared. There's the cage down once again, has to use the cleanse. As Seismic Shove needs to be flashed there by Keria. Nature's Grasp avoided now by T1, and so now that is a cooldown that they don't have to think about for the next few moments. An honest 5v5 perhaps, and we'll see whether they can stand their ground.
Just really relying on On's ultimate here to make sure that they can try and step away. So T1 going to use that range advantage that they have to just keep poking, keep pushing them back. Watch for a Night Flick. There's basically only 2 ways that BLG can kick off this fight in their favor.
So much posturing. Drake up and available, but somewhat forgotten at this point in time. Both teams want to have a little bit more to get themselves into that river, and it looks like BLG may have found it.
As soon as Zeus shows himself on top wave, that's going to be their trigger to go for it and rush down. Oh,
Culling is going to fly out. Not a lot of value there is going to be picked up until the very end, and now the snare comes down. Tidal Wave finds absolutely nothing. As the Destiny going to be utilized. That gives vision of this Drake, but I don't think they're going to be able to get there, so that's the Dragon being secured by BLG. And T1 slink back to the
teleporting
mid
on
lane.
Zeus!
All right, yeah, Bin. He's looking for an opportunity onto the Twisted Fate here, and now he finds himself in melee range. Not exactly where the TF wants to be, but the cavalry has been called in. The kick flash, it comes down, the flash out, he snares both, but he's going to be able to survive the Dawning Shadow. And T1 not able to find anything, but still not going to lose their Twisted Fate either.
T1 were trying to trade for the tier 2 on top side, but now they might trade their lives.
Yep, another Nature's Grasp coming on down there as Oner gets twisted, advanced on. The Seismic Shove doesn't quite find the target though, and Keria is once again extraordinarily tanky. Still BLG, they just kite them back, and are we gonna get another kill this game? Like, what's happening?
I mean, we're making it exciting. Bin goes for the teleport play there, and they get a lot of cooldowns used at the very least. Now we're more likely to get some kills with everything used here. Here's another look at it. Since he does use his Counter-Strike very early on to get the stun onto Zeus, he's got nothing left once the rest of T1 arrive, but then right immediately over to the rest of the team, lands the snare, not enough damage to finish him off. And we're back to live.
Yep, back to mid control, gentlemen.
With few summoner spells on Elk, so Elk not going to be able to play as aggressive as he would like to on this mid wave, so this will buy a little bit of space for T1 to try and get their waves in order on sides. You can already see Zeus stepping up towards that top side, but Elk doesn't care apparently, as he rinses through Gumayusi's health bar.
Oner thought that was like their bait, but instead Zeta Keria just lost his entire health bar. So yes, the mid-game power of this Lucian is going to feel even worse once that Infinity Edge does come on through. Already with the first couple of items picked up, Rapid Fire Cannon and the Static Shiv, definitely the core for this Lucian build. And yeah, Elk is just absolutely terrifying here in this game. We'll see whether T1 can do anything to mitigate it. It will get to the point though, gentlemen, where Faker can press R and he dies. Like, maybe that's what T1 have to wait for. They're like 55 minutes, something like that.
The stacking is, you know, going according to plan here for T1. Faker on 214. Mid lane has been pushed up here by T1. They go for the 4-1 split push with Faker on bottom side, being able to get the rest of the wave. But here comes the collapse from BLG.
Yep, gold card going to connect, but Elk not really too worried about it. And here is all of the ultimates flying forward. It's a decent gobble this time around, but the Tom Kench will not survive. Faker finds his opportunity, but he just takes a Nami, and that is not going to do enough to get them into this fight. Still flashing, puts down the cage, but the Baleful Strike will not land. And now there is nowhere for him to go, back against the wall, and there is a killing spree for Knight.
The trifecta of teamfight ultimates here from BLG. Knight puts the wall behind the T1 members, and then the cross-section of Maokai ultimate and Nami ultimate used to pin them. Now with the extra pickup on the kill onto Faker, BLG have so much time to clear out all this vision and a lot of extra gold to spend.
Surprised they didn't just run towards the Baron, but not going to try and go that aggressive on it.
Yeah, I think Gumayusi's ult at the end hitting Elk put a little bit of a dissipation on. He was very, very low, but we'll see this here, right? The Venn diagram of doom for T1 as right caught in the middle is Keria and Zeus, as Keria thinks he's going to save Zeus, instead puts him further forward. And even at the start of the fight, you can see Oner on the top side was trying to get on towards the Talia as Knight came into the fight, but just couldn't quite get the damage they needed. But there's a T1 classic.
Yep, as per usual, it is down to 50% health. BLG know exactly what's going on. The cage not going to do anything in T1. They just back away. They went for it. They thought there was an opportunity, but they are still going to be able to get out. Still Bin with some free time in this mid lane does a big old dent to the inner turret.
I feel like everybody, if they're playing against T1, Coach's #1 job is, remember, they will rush Baron. They will rush Baron. If they're ever behind, they will rush Baron. BLG check it. They got a little bit of extra damage on mid turret as well. Cage goes down, but nobody going to get caught.
Yeah, there's the Nature's Grasp once again. That's going to guarantee the turret. Very nicely done here for BLG. They move up a little bit further in that gold advantage. Only 2 point something K. Not exactly massive. But still, it just feels like this game has no control in it for T1. It is all being dictated by BLG right now.
And so much of it is coming down to, again, Knight getting the first pick on Talia, having that success against Faker. Also looking at Bin getting the counter pick against Zeus. Zeus hasn't really been able to find what he needs up against the Jax. And Elkanon, the Lucian has worked out absolutely fantastic for them, as it has time and time again in the LPL. And now T1 need to find some sort of way to get a pick with Zeus, find some way to shut down the BLG aggression.
Yeah, and it's just so difficult when Elk has both summoner spells available to him, Cleanse and Flash ready. Dragon is going to be theirs, but the ward's cleared out, so T1 going to keep on making you think, are we rushing it, huh?
Yeah, are we going to do the Baron? You can see that, you know, Faker throwing like a W at it just to say like, yeah, we could.
Look at the spam of pings too,
Yeah.
BLG afterwards. They pick up their Drake though. They are now on soul points. Job number one again still. Push out the side wave, control the map here before moving in.
Oh, there is Oner getting himself out of there with the
No
safeguard.
flash on Faker.
And there's another Weaver's Wall to come through from Knight. Oner gets over at the Nature's Grass, should be able to get the Viger, although it does run out.
Oh
Still,
my
I think
God.
Ben with some free time should be able to take him down. Seismic shove not onto Faker, but he's still going to go down. And that is Knight that collects that kill. T1, they do get here to try and defend, but they're not going to be able to save their mid laner. Faker with BLG pushing it even further forward.
Faker with his dying breath, able to get down one more cage, means that BLG can't follow up, but now they get to move in towards the mid lane as Zeus desperately trying to clear out that wave to stop the base from being cracked open by BLG.
Now only one caster minion left up and available. That's going to be licked down, so not able to get that one in there, but there's inner turret already falling down, and I think it's going to be bot and top lane the BLG will be focusing on from now on. T1 still trying to move aggressively towards their own jungle here. Doesn't feel like they own it right now as BLG. The man advantage on the map. They do have been towards that bottom side, but the teleport at the ready means he can always be there.
Yeah, it's just too dangerous for T1. With Faker in the graveyard there, they cannot afford to defend their... Oh my God!
The Devour has to be used here by Keria, and he's going to get Gumayusi out, but to safety, I'm not entirely sure because the teleport's coming in, and Ben just dives on top of him. There goes the bottom lane, shoved around his Keria, and Knight is indeed unstoppable.
That's Elk Illusion, baby, and that IE was completed, Atlas. The pain he unleashed on the Guma.
BLG are going to go for the Baron, but keep your eyes on Oner and Faker. Double smites are available for the T1 mid jungle if they want to try and contest this. Being going to try and keep Zeus out.
Well, Zeus might be able to get on in here. There is the Destiny. That is going to give them at least vision of what's going on here. Oner, he can safeguard his way through. And Faker with that smite play you were talking about, it is very scary. Dawning Shadow gives them vision, and Oner goes in, but it's not going to be in time. Kicks the tree over the wall and then meets his demise. BLG, they'll take the Baron, and they'll look real good to win this game.
Wait, the TP mid?
All right, well, Keria's making his way back, and he's tanky, but not that tanky, and he goes the wrong direction, one could say. Faker's going to turn up alongside him and just die.
BLG are going to speed run the rest of this game then. Thank you very much for the extra kills. Thank you for the extra cooldowns, T1. And they're going straight for the base.
All right, well, Gumayusi is going to try and defend, and it's not going to work, as this is going to be the base broken for BLG. Feels like T1 just can't handle the pressure.
Oh.
There it is. Rocks being strewn on the ground in front of Gumayusi. Zeus trying to do some fancy footwork, but it is not going to be enough. As Oner, he gets underneath his inhibitor turret, but he's thrown around like a ragdoll once again. Elk will be taken down. So there's at least some shutdown gold going over to Oner. And BLG, they're happy to have some fun as well.
Doesn't mean they won't get the inhibitor though, and because Bin was pushing the top side, won't actually get too much, so a little bit of a whoopsie. If BLG had actually killed T1 there, maybe they could have looked to end the game, but the fact that Elk ended up tanking the tower, coming back to bite them a little bit.
I'm glad they're giving us this these extra few laughs here towards the late stages.
All right, Shun, he's in a cage. He's got a redemption. He gets more health after that altercation. There we go.
Circles on circles.
Yeah,
and
it's a
the
lot of
1v1. Here's another look at it. Yeah, so they're teleporting mid to try and push out mid before the rotation over, but BLG are still here. So Elk immediately jumps on them and annihilates the entirety of T1 there. Keria gets taken down because Bin was coming from the river. Faker as well. Just straight put into the dirt.
I thought Faker was supposed to be the burst mage. Zelku just immediately turns on a Faker and blows him up.
That's got a GA now too.
Now completed, yeah. You're not killing Elk again.
And there's Majai's now for Knight as well. He is absolutely feeling himself here in this game. 7-1-6. And yeah, Talia has certainly been the focus of this series thus far. 100% win rate if BLG are able to take this game. And it's feeling all but over right now. It's T1, they still have their inhibitors up, but not a lot of defense for them. And Cloud Soul going to be up and available for BLG in 20 seconds time.
Yeah, it's really hard to cook up a way where T1 are going to be able to say anything about it. I mean, probably just opt for some more stacks here and hope for a better angle at a team fight towards your base. Going out towards that Dragon Soul, it seems so insanely dangerous right now. I mean, if you funnel in through any of these jungle corridors, guess what? BLG's comp is littered with Maokai ultimate, Nami ultimate, things that are just going to make your approach a death trap. So,
well, there is a kick. That's just not going to work there for Oner. He's going to be put into a bubble and destroyed. Zeus moving on down the cage. Fantastic this time, but it's the resurrection, and Keria, he mistimes the abyssal dive. Elk gets himself out of there with the relentless pursuit, and there goes Faker. BLG are too far ahead, and they know it has now been flashing with the counter-strike. That'll be the ace, and that will be match point for BLG.
BLG, the LPL first seed, showing why they were so feared coming into MSI, taking us to a match point against T1.
Nexus will go down, and BLG, man, you were right, Kobe. You said it at the beginning. You saw that Lucian